You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales. Streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
2, 1.
Hey, aloha everyone. I am here in the Hawaiian Islands broadcasting to you live. And I am loving the weather. I hope you are enjoying the weather where you are at. And no matter where you're at, it's about to get hot when we visit the Western apocalyptic land of the few and the cursed with creator Felipe Cagno. He's run several successful campaigns now with this series, which you should be looking into. Along with Felipe, tonight we have the Scarlet Crush man himself, John Stinsman, and Mount Olympus's hero, Ruben Rosas. Tonight's grand prize giveaway is a full set of Felipe's books, and it is huge. Start entering #EXP Big Red because it's going to get a big bloody red mess all happening tonight. Thank you for joining us. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Hey, welcome back, everybody. We're already around like 2,500 more than 2,500 followers, actually. So stay tuned for our special celebration to honor you guys for that marvelous achievement for the EXP channel. We love you guys and appreciate it very much. And if you haven't yet hit that follow button, please do so now. That'll give us the our opportunities to you. Call your family, friends, co-workers, your Sunday brethren, and let them in on the continuous pertinent content to the independent comic market, all right here on the EXP. Now, usually Mog is here, and she'll probably be here in a moment or so. But as usual, we do have a sweet giveaway tonight. So once again, put in #EXP Big Red. That's right, to qualify for tonight's giveaways. #EXP Big Red. Mog has 3 Kickstarters that she's doing, so you can check those out in the comments. She's got 2 covers for Spectrus and Sabanian. She is got the next issue of Snowplow, issue number 3, that's going to be coming out with a cover of hers as well. And she's also got a special offering, if you haven't seen that yet, on Bill Mouse's Nera X, Deep Seas number 2. So check that out. Now, I left Mog in Kali for Hawaii. That's right. I am back home in my sunny, warm state of the Aloha Islands, broadcasting to you live. And we're going to find out what Hawaii has to do with the few and the curse. Curious minds want to know, especially me. So let me introduce to you our special guest tonight, Felipe Cagno. Hey, Felipe. How are you doing?
Hey, Mel. How's it going?
So how's the weather in your area?
It's actually kind of chilly. You know, I'm in Florida right now, but I just left Brazil a couple of days ago and was in the middle of the summer. We just had Carnival. That was hot, too hot. So it was nice to come to colder weather. Not too cold. It's perfect.
Yeah. Oh, nice. What is it, like 77, 78 over there? Is that perfect weather?
It's actually 72. 72,
Ooh.
73. So yeah, it's on the chilly side. Yesterday was mid 60s or something. So it's nice.
That's interesting because that's kind of like what it is over here too. Right now it's about 72. So it's a comfortable weather. These guys feel hot at like 78. You know, and it does get up in the 80s, and they feel like they're freezing at 68. So yeah, it's
well. I'm gonna be in Seattle next week, and I'm sure it's gonna be a lot colder there.
Are you gonna be at Emerald City?
I am gonna be at the Emerald City Comic Con.
I didn't know that.
Yes, I'm gonna be there. Oh, cool! So we'll get to hang out in person. Fabiano and I are going actually.
Oh, okay. That's your artist, right?
Yeah. Fabiano draws the Redhead and the Fiend-Cursed. He's the co-creator with me, and we'll both attend. We're both going to be at the Artist Alley. I think it's table C11, I think. I can double check that for you.
Okay. And Mog is easy to remember, okay, because she's at M09. And when you put that together, you know what it looks like? It looks like Mog.
It does. It really does.
Came out like that. But we're going to get back to you. Definitely want to take a look at what you got going. Yeah, your series has been doing, I think, phenomenal. You've got a really good following, right? But in the house also with us, we have Mr. John Stinsman.
Hey guys, good to see everybody again.
He says draws things. He's working on Scarlet Crush, and that's one series that I'm waiting to see. Eventually, we'll have him as a featured creator as well.
I want to get closer.
Yeah,
to becoming a reality. I'm excited for that.
And John, what are you going to be drawing tonight for the live auction?
Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman.
Nice.
Wonder Woman.
And
For those of us old enough to remember that theme song.
What size are you drawing on this time?
It's pretty famous, so
9x12.
9x12.
Full color.
Uh-huh.
And the starting bid is always 65.
65. Okay, you guys got that? If you want to bid on John's before he even has anything
somehow
on the board.
we always get to 69 somehow. I still blame you, Mel, for that. Every piece I've drawn so far on this channel has gone to 69. Very strange.
Hey, that's $4 more for you.
No, I'll take it. It covers the PayPal fee, you know.
There you go. Also tonight we've got one of our good buddies, Mr. Ruben Rosas.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hey buddy.
Hello.
He's going to be working on a colorful blank sketch cover.
Yeah, so this was not planned, but apparently we're going with the DC theme today.
Nice.
Okay.
And one facsimile.
What will you be drawing? Did you decide on that?
I'm thinking I'm gonna. I was looking up some images. I'm just gonna take the easy route and do an homage of a Jim Lee piece with Batman and the Joker. So.
Whoa. Okay.
There you go.
He's going big today, guys.
And
what are you going to be starting that out at, Ruben?
We'll start at 60.
Oh, and he's lowballing it. Okay. He's looking for some action here.
We'll see.
Right. Get that in early, guys. Okay. It ain't going to last. It ain't going to stay
this
there.
is where you go to get the good deals with Mel and Mog.
Exactly. And our producer writes, actually, that was Mog. She asked people to bid 69. She does all that talk, okay? But I'm going to tell you, that's all it is. It's just talk. She likes to talk big, but she actually gets it, so I can't, put her down for that.
No.
All right, so let's talk comics. The Few and the Curse, right? So was this initially your idea, Felipe?
I love how the Fiend Curse came to be. I cannot take full credit on it as much as I'd love to, but the story behind it is I actually met Fabiano when I was doing my very first show. It was back in Brazil, and we got along really well. I asked Fabiano if he would be interested in taking part of a anthology of comics I was doing called 321 Fast Comics, which is basically short stories. They all have 3 pages, 2 characters.
That was your very first Kickstarter.
That was my very first Kickstarter. That's right. 321 Fast Comics Volume 1.
How did it go for you at that time?
I'm sorry, say that again?
How did it go for you at that time?
It was challenging. I remember we hit our funding goal at the very last week. And we barely hit any stretch goals, but I was running that all the way from Brazil. It was my very first time. You learn as you go. It's our experience, but we still, funded. We still managed to hit our goal. I still was able to produce the book, and get it to backers' hands. So it was a nice experience. I think that was almost 10 years ago. I think that was back in 2015. Almost a decade ago.
You have got some experience, right? And
yeah.
That's what makes it kind of exciting to have you here on the show, because there's not too many people that we've gone here that can say, yeah, we've been doing Kickstarters for like 10 years.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I started using a similar crowdfunding platform back in Brazil, and that was back in 2012. So if you count that experience, that's over 10 years.
Okay,
You know?
and that's probably why your first actual Kickstarter on Kickstarter was able to get fully funded, because you already had that kind of experience with the crowdfunding, right? Whereas people who seem to just start off, they're doing Kickstarter and they're not getting fully funded.
Mhm.
And some of these people are doing like their fifth and seventh campaign I've seen, and they're still not getting it or barely making it. But I think that seems to like helped you there. Would you agree?
I agree. There was definitely a lot of experience behind it because by the time I made it to Kickstarter, I had already run, I think, 2 or 3 campaigns back in Brazil locally, and but I think the big difference was also I had, and by the way, that was not planned. I came up with the idea for 321 Fast Comics because my first book ever produced, The Lost Kids, just took forever. I literally took a feature-length screenplay and adapted it into a comic book, and it took me a few years. So for the next one, I wanted to do something quick and fast. And I think that pleased people, because they didn't have to have read anything I've done before. They were all short stories. It was an anthology of short stories. I did have a lot of talent in the book, like Fabiano, for instance. So, like, you call it instinct or dumb sheer luck, whatever you want to call it. But it worked out, like I'm very proud of the idea, which is 321 Fast Comics. Every story in that book had 3 pages, 2 characters, and 1 twist ending. And with that formula, I did attract a lot of artists that had worked for Marvel and DC, all Brazilians. I think that for the very first volume, we had all Brazilians, and that attracted some eyeballs, and it worked. Was happy to fund on the first try.
Lucky that you're in Brazil, because there is a lot of good talent in Brazil. Okay, It is phenomenal and stunning. When I see those pages come across my feed and go, dang, these guys are so good. I love the kind of art that they do there, and who they're drawing from, because they don't just draw from artists here in the U.S., but from all over the world. And,
absolutely.
And I can see all the influences in there.
Yeah, so let me, we have time, right? So let me share a little anecdote as why that is. Why is Brazil such a pool of just outstanding talent that they've been constantly working for, some of the top books of Marvel, DC, and then European publishers. And the reason for that is, so early in the early 90s, we had this phenomenal artist called Marcelo Campos. Like we appreciate him as the godfather of comics in Brazil. Not because he not only he opened the doors to the US market, but he opened up a school and he was teaching artists how to not just honing their skills, but actually, present them to the US publishers and the editors. He was responsible for the first wave of artists. He's a teacher. And I'm proud to have met him, and he was actually a big influence, because when I wanted to do The Lost Kids, which was my first book, I didn't know anybody. And through a mutual friend, he was like, "Hey, talk to Marcelo. He'll find you some beautiful, talented people that you can work with for The Lost Kids." And he was just so gracious, because I was a young 20-something writer, and he was like, "Hey, listen, I can't, share. I can't show your work or whatever. I can't bring you the big guns, but what I can do is I can select some of my best students and have them, see if they're interested in working on your book." And the guy that I ultimately picked is working for Marvel today. and that's been a constant in my life. A lot of times I'm working with someone, then Marvel, and it's always Marvel. It's never DC. Marvel Comics comes and poaches my guys. But anyway, so Marcelo was a big influence, and then obviously a lot of people came after him. Joe Prado is someone that opened up a lot of doors for a lot of people in the U.S. And I could go down the list. I like to mention Joe and Marcelo because they were artists, sure, but they were also teachers. They were also agents. And they were very gracious to bring people with them. They were like, they made it and they brought people with them. And then more people they brought, generated more interest from, other artists in Brazil. So that's why we have such a terrific pool talent, if you will, here in Brazil.
So here's an interesting note, okay, because you called him the godfather of comics in Brazil, who brought that to the forefront. Similarly, there is a guy that we in Hawaii here that has kind of followed a very similar path, right? He put out his own comic book here that's called Pineapple Man, it's a big success here locally, right? And in the comic itself, like if you can find number one, it's in the hundreds of dollars. These guys will like snatch it up really quick if somebody puts it up. And he's got about like 5 issues out there, and they're all over $100. A full set is going to cost you over $1,000.
Wow.
But anyway, he did the same thing too. He set up a school with a couple of his artist friends, and trying to teach people how to do the art and everything. And what makes it kind of interesting, his last name is also Campos.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. His first name is Sam. He worked with Michael Turner a bit with in Aspen before he decided that, you know what, I think I want to do something for Hawaii and bring these people, bring the talent pool here to represent them and bring them into the market. Hasn't quite gotten there yet, but it's something that he's working on, right? So I just thought I'd like throw that in as it was interesting. But anyway, so let's get back to the few and the cursed, right? So you meet Fabiano, right? You guys hit it off right away, which is that doesn't happen all the time,
No, we hit it off right there and then, and I asked him to be part of 321 Comics and asked him, what would you like to draw? And he was the one at the time, a very big Western fan. Huge. His father used to collect and read texts. He always wanted to have drawn a Western book, and he never had the chance. He's had at the time a successful career doing Vampirella, doing a lot of stuff for Dynamite, for Marvel. He did some stuff for Marvel Zombies, for instance. Okay. But he never got that dream of drawing a Western. He's like, hey, write me a Western, and I'm going to kill it for you. And I went to film school, so I did study the genre. And even though I had enjoyed some of the movies, it wasn't at the time something I was passionate about. I was like, sure, Westerns are fun, but I never grew up watching Westerns. I mean, my first contact with them was at film school when we had to, learn the genre rules, if you will. Yeah. And so I told Fabiano, I was like, listen, I'm fine. I'm happy to write you a Western, but I want to put my spin on it. I want to do something that Felipe would love to read or watch. So my first decision was to have a female protagonist, because in Westerns, you don't see that very often.
No.
And then Fabiano came up with a character that was very, very similar to Sharon Stone in The Quick and the Dead, which is a big influence.
Yeah. I know when you said there's not too many females, that's the first thing that popped into my mind.
I know, but think of a second one. That's tough.
There isn't,
So that's difficult. So and then I pitched to Fabiano. I was like, listen, at first she was, like I said, very similar to Sharon Stone. I was like, how about this? Let's make her a redhead. Let's make her different from Sharon Stone. So we kind of it was always this back and forth. I love to think that we came up with Red together, and I'm a very big huge Indiana Jones fan and treasure hunting and the genre, the adventure genre.
Yeah.
So as much as I wanted to do a straight up Western, I wanted to have that element. So the very first time that we did something with the Redhead, it was a 3-page story. He had horror elements. He had a lost idol. And it sort of started there with a 3-page story. When we were done, and I published 321 Fast Comics, it was a big hit. Fabiano again was like, hey, listen, I love the character. I think she's got potential. Why don't we do something with her? And so Fabiano was a very big motivator. He was the one that approached me, was like, hey, let's take this character further. And one thing led to another. The idea, like, I wanted something to justify the existence of monsters, curses, legends in the world. And at the time, São Paulo, my hometown in Brazil, was going through a water crisis.
Okay.
We were going through a terrible drought. They had to ration the water on households. Like, you had to watch out for your showers, what have you. And I just used that as the context, as the background. Like, I don't want to get into it, but an apocalypse happened. Most of the water on the planet was gone. That's the world that Red lives in. And it's not about resetting the world to what it was. I wanted that to be the reality. And the only thing that this generation of characters knew. I used that apocalypse as the excuse or the reason or the motivation that there are curses and monsters in this world. So it's an alternate, 20th century, if you will, where water is so scarce, it's the currency of the world, and the Redhead is a curse chaser going from town to town.
And the silver lining of that is that that's actually what we need to worry about right now. It is a water shortage, not just in certain areas. I mean, they did say that we will start seeing this issue pop up in certain areas, and then it's going to start growing from there. And we're seeing signs of it right now. Just the fact that you even mentioned it, that it's happening in your hometown, right? Not exactly sure how we're going to be able to handle it or what we need to do, but it's something that does need to get looked at. So it's interesting that your story has that as kind of like the crux that they need to look at and bear. There's also an interesting element that you bring into your book is you've got a tie-in with like a Hawaii theme. Yeah. How did that come about, or how does that work? I haven't figured that out yet, and I don't know if you keep that a secret. If you need to, that's fine.
No. I can totally dig into it. So when Fabiano and I decided that we were going to do like a full comic book series around the Redhead, I wanted to do a mythical creature that hasn't been seen before. I didn't want to go to zombies, vampires, werewolves. I wanted to stay clear of all that. And, back in my neighborhood, where I lived, we had a lot of crows. So I literally looked out the window and saw a black crow, and I was like, that's my guy. That's my mythical creature. I started, studying crows, digging up stuff on Google, on the internet about crows. And I was just fascinated about some of the stuff that I started to learn, like they hold a grudge, they can be vicious. And I was like, well, you know what? I have my villain. The reason about setting this first story in Hawaii is literally because I didn't see that happen very often. You don't see Hawaii represented in comics a lot.
Wow.
And it just attracted me. It just attracted me to it. I was drawn to it. I love the language, how it sounds, and I started looking up words, and like Mana Olana just seemed such. It rolled off your tongue. So I kid you not, like like looking back, it might feel that I had everything planned out. Like this big universe that's building, everything connected and it's a big, sandbox that I'm playing with. But honestly, it just happened. Like the way I write, I always have the full story in my mind, at least beginning, middle, and end. And so I always knew what beats to hit with each issue. But don't forget, we publish the Thinkers, I think, was like one issue per year at the time. I think the first one came out on 2015, 2016, something like that. Then the other one a year later. So there was a lot of time between scripts and definitely a lot of time between Fabiano drawing them. And so things, moved around. But I always knew that I wanted the Crows to be from, in my perspective, from somewhere exotic, somewhere that I hadn't seen explored in comics before. And that's why they started to take place in Hawaii. I love the idea that, the Hawaiian islands would be mountains, would be like a string of mountains if you took out the ocean. Yeah. And that's how it all came to be. It was very organic. Like I didn't plan for it. It just happened.
And it just came together. It fit.
It did. It did.
Yeah. Okay, so now I got my answer to that, and that resolves my curiosity. And
by the way, Hawaii is at the top of my bucket list of places to visit in the world. I literally, I really want to. Yeah, I really want to be there. I've looked up Hawaii Comic-Con a few times in the past, but the thing is, like, I sometimes I fly to Comic-Cons out of Florida, but sometimes I fly out of Brazil, and just to make the trip to Hawaii, that would mean São Paulo, Miami, LA, Honolulu, or whatever closest airport would that be. But so it's a long trip. But I'm gonna make it one day.
There we go. Let me know when you do, because we'll try.
Absolutely. Can't wait.
Here and stuff. Yeah. So Mog finally made it on here. How you doing?
Hello, Mog.
Yeah.
She's been sitting there quietly, but very expression.
I know, and she's usually not quiet.
Oh, really? Yeah. Let's get her started then.
So, Mog, first of all, what are you drawing for live auction today?
I think maybe Wonder Woman. I don't know.
Oh, another. Oh, DC sponsoring
it. Wonder Woman.
I don't know. I'm like some kind of warrior. Like, do you have? I mean, the preliminary. Do you have any suggestion? Besides Wonder Woman,
what are you?
I want to put like armor everywhere.
Oh, you want to put her in armor? Well, you can take any character that you want to draw and put her in armor.
Okay.
Yeah. So, what do you want to do?
I don't know.
All right, suggestions. Who should Mog draw?
I mean,
I think she's cheating again. She's going to pull out something that's already done halfway through the show.
Shut up.
Hey, look at that. I just finished this.
Okay, we have an armored Red Sonja.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Let's do Red Sonja.
Okay.
Got it.
Yeah, if it's with Fabiano. Fabiano did Red Sonja covers for a while there.
There you go.
Yeah.
Hey, do you know the artist? He did Vampirella too. Jose Pepin.
Pepe.
What's his name? Jose Pepin.
I forgot. He did Vampirella back when it was with Harris Comics.
He died.
So he's one of the earlier artists that did it, and he was from Argentina.
Yeah, he's so good.
Very good artist though.
Yeah.
When he was doing Vampirella at that time. Yeah. But anyway, we have Felipe Cagno with us, and we are very, very happy and lucky to have him here tonight.
I'm happy to be here.
Don't go away. We've got a lot more to talk about, and we will definitely get to that. So stay tuned. Grab a drink or something. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Symphonic verses, nocturnal song of romanticized darkness, dreaming death by sleep.
Welcome back, everyone. Do us a favor, hit that follow button, help us increase our followers so we can continue to bring wonderful content like the original art show happening tomorrow with Mr. Nick Barucci. Don't forget, put in #EXP Big Red. Type that into the comments to win one of 3 giveaways we'll be doing later on tonight, including a full set of books from Felipe. That's a super grand prize giveaway tonight in PDF files, right? And don't forget, take a look at the 3 Kickstarters. Mog will be on later this month. Links are in the comments. And also check out the artist links as well. Give them some of your support. All right, so we're talking here to Mr. Felipe Cagno, who does The Few and the Cursed, right? And he's told us a little bit of his journey getting to the very first issue. Now, when I read some of the story in how you were trying to get that out there, and Kickstarter wasn't the first option that you were planning to bring it to, but it kind of became the only option. Mm-hmm. So what was happening there? How did that come about?
Again, it just happened organically. When Fabian and I first started out, we decided to do a little sample to take to publishers in the US. So we were hitting Comic-Cons. I think my first one was C2E2 in Chicago. And I met some people. I showed them like this brochure with some art. I had just the first few pages done, and not a lot of response at the time. And I get it. Like Fabian and I, so it's funny. So Fabiano is a seasoned, Marvel, DC, Dynamite professional, and he was actually tired of having to work through nights, meeting crazy deadlines, and doing a book per month. And me, on the other hand, I was just starting out. Like I had done The Lost Kids, which took forever, and then I had done the Lost, and I had done the 321 Fast Comics. But The Few and Curse, it was supposed to be my very first monthly series, and I had never done one before. I had no idea whether I would be able to actually do it. So, looking back, I understand how we seemed pretty green to be bet on as a monthly series, to put out like a monthly book of The Few and Curse. And then so we did a first round, didn't get anywhere, to be honest. So we decided to finish the first issue. And to do that, I decided to do a Kickstarter for it. And people liked it. And then we took issue number 1 to publishers again. There was some interest; people were interested. I remember we opened up a couple of doors, and Fabiana was always like, "I don't want to do this on a monthly basis," but we were like, okay, let's do one more and see how it goes. And then we did a second Kickstarter, and it did a lot better than the first one. By the time the third Kickstarter had come along, we figured out that it was a lot better to enjoy the freedom that we had, that backers allowed us to have, to work on in our own pace, and to be creatively free to do whatever the hell we wanted with the book and the series. And by the time issue number 3 rolled around, we were like, then a publisher started coming in strong. Like, we want this book, we want this universe you're building. And then it was our turn to say no. We're happy with Kickstarter, because there is a very big difference between selling, I don't know, like 1,000 books, but you're taking in all the cash, as opposed to selling 10,000 books, but you're only getting a percentage of that, and the costs are much greater, and you have marketing costs, and you have advertising, and you have publishing, and so it just made sense to continue on Kickstarter, and things just started happening in a very whimsical way. Like, it's amazing. I remember between issues 3 and 4, or 4 or 5, something like that, a backer reached out to me and was like, hey, you need to check out this board game called Maximum Apocalypse. And he sent the same message to the creator of that board game, which was Mike. And the mutual backer, actually put us in touch. And what came out of that is, I made a dear friend, but we started to work on the Thinkers board game. And then Mike was like, hey, I need more characters and more locations than what you came up with so far. Because, I was just doing the Thinkers Redhead tales, if you will. Okay. And then I came up with Chronicles of the Thinkers, which was engineered. It was designed to expand the universe. So Mike had stuff to use in his board game, and people went nuts for it. And then I created a character for the board game as part of the stretch goals, which was Lavoine. She was this mute postwoman. And I fell in love with the character. I thought she had a beautiful story behind her. And I did the Thinkers Shadow Nation. Long story short, again, if you look back, it looks like I planned everything meticulously, but I did not. Things just started happening, and that's why I think it's whimsical. Like, it's just magical the way things turn out, and now we have this fantastic sandbox with tons of characters, and Hidden Away, which is the current one we're working on. I'm just in love with those characters. It's like the Lost Kids 2.0, because the Lost Kids, it was my very first feature-length screenplay that I've ever wrote. And when you're writing something, as a young aspiring writer, you tend to take all your references, everything that you love, you put it in a blender, and then you get something out of it. Sure. And that's the Lost Kids. The Lost Kids had influence from Final Fantasy, Goonies, Dungeons and Dragons, all that. But it's heavily influenced by all those materials. So it feels a lot. It's still original, but it feels like it's drinking a lot from those sources. And I get it, because I was 20 something at the time. I was still finding my voice. I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't even know I wanted to write, to be honest. But Hidden Away, it's also the combination of everything that I love that influenced me as a writer, but in a completely fresh, original, mature voice as a writer. I've been doing this for a decade, so I feel a lot more comfortable in my own skin to come up with characters, that have their own voice. And it's almost as if the book is writing it itself. Like, the characters, they have their own. It's weird as a writer to say that, but I'm not writing it. I'm just tapping into the ether and getting that stuff,
And
translated.
that's what a lot of good writers say, is that if you put in the time to create your characters on paper,
Mm-hmm.
that you get to know them really well, minor stuff even that you may not even bring into a story, like they're what their favorite food is, or or things
Mm-hmm.
like that, that when you start writing the story, the character just takes over.
They do. It
Know
is. It's
exactly
weird.
they know what they're going to do. You're just putting it down on paper for them.
Oh, absolutely.
It's
Yeah. And it's funny that like when I like to do a beat sheet, so I like to have all my beats laid out before I even open up Final Draft to start writing. And it's funny that like it's more of a guideline, it's not more of a map, but
Yeah.
as with any map, you can take different routes to get wherever you want to get to. And when you fleshed out your characters and you wrote them as real people, and you gave them both positive and negative characteristics and a voice, and it's like the relationships between characters, they started to evolve as well. So I didn't have a romance or two characters seeing like each other like that. I didn't have that on the plot on the beat sheet as I was writing them, but as I started putting it out on page, it's funny how two characters started falling in love with each other, and there was a romantic interest there. I didn't plan that. Like, I don't know how that happened. It did. So it's something that was very fresh, and I just ran with it with Hidden Away. And by the way, just to give the pitch for Hidden Away, it's a Fearing Curse book, and it's about a group of kids that embark on this great adventure of exploring the water mines in their hometown. And I always wanted to do an original story about a group of kids going on an adventure, because I grew up in Brazil fishing in the Amazon, and I had friends, and we lived these little weird adventures when we, for instance, went off camp to find a small pond, and we started throwing our lures into the water, and then something was just eating it off, and we can take it out of the water. By the time we finally did it, it was this gigantic black snake, and we just ran for our lives because this giant snake was eating our baits, and that helped me form me as an adult and as a creative person, as an artist. And I wanted to translate that to the page, and that's where Hidden Away comes from, and to make it just part of the Thinkers universe, it feels like a blessing, because it grows the universe beyond what people are used to. It still has some of the elements that the series is known for, the curses and the horror elements and the dried up world, but it's still its own thing. And it doesn't stop me from, for instance, putting these characters to interact with one another. I love to see some of the kids from Hidden Away interacting with the redhead, or the pirate in Hardship and Ambition interact with the redhead. And I do have ideas for all that to happen. I remember people saying they would love to see Tony Stark interacting with Rocket Raccoon, and we got to see that happening, and it was special and magic.
Yeah.
So.
And you do have those in your stories, right? There are those special moments in there, right? And I think that's great when a writer recognizes that you want to create those moments, because that's what kind of draws you to the character, where you can have that moment where you can have that humanistic feelings, attachment, connection with that character, because you're humanizing them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And a lot of the writers these days don't know or don't utilize that tool in their writing or in their campaigns. So reading your books, right? And I don't want to give it away, but you have that because you have it's not just in the current Kickstarter that you have, but in some of the stories that you've written, especially the ones that you shared with us. There's children in there involved in there.
Yeah.
And so there's that element, right? There's some of them are scary, some of them are sweet or innocent, and you get to know them, right? And you get to like some of them, and you're not going to like some of them, and you might like some of them in the beginning and then not like them later on, when things are revealed, right? So, and those catch you by surprise, and so there are those moments, right? So when you did this series that you currently have on your Kickstarter, right? And you're doing it with the kids, and they have that action, and I like that appeal that you're bringing into it, because I love those kind of stories too. I'm more the adventurous type. I was like you growing up. I love going into the woods. I was a fan of Tom Sawyer, Huckleberry Finn, and the adventures.
Yeah.
Reading those books, going out into the swamps, and there's that mysticism in the world that they would live in, and that's what drew me too. I love, going out to the rivers and the lakes and messing around, playing in there, and then hanging out there late in the evening, listening to the sounds that just kind of like scare you and everything as you're learning about the world that you live in. And you bring that into your stories as well, right? And we're learning of their environment that they're living. Looks all peaceful and everything until you get to see what's like really going on, and there is that mystical element theme in there as well. So in this Kickstarter, right, what can we? I mean, is it all? Thank you for bringing that up, JD. And you can say everybody's got 14 days left, already at 33,000, well over funded. Back it if you can. You will be very, very happy that you did. Are you creating in this story, right? Is it all about just the adventure, being the fun in the games, or what are you trying to? Is there like a message or something that you're trying to get out here with this story?
So I do have a theme that underlies everything, which it has to be about. It's about finding yourself within a group. I think that's very important, and that's why it's a group of kids at the front and center. I have personal childhood, moments where I wanted to belong to a group of kids at school or to a group of kids at the local neighborhood. And sometimes those are happy stories, sometimes they're not so happy. And I wanted to put that in there. And I do have two things to talk to why I love writing kids, So two things I want to say about this. The first one's very short, very funny. It's a little bit of an inside joke, if you will. So when Fabiano said he wanted to do a Western book, he was really looking forward to draw cowboys and Indians and then draw like these big action scenes and bearded men. And then the first thing that I did is I threw at him like a female protagonist and then a group of kids around her. And so Fabiano, like, he yanks my chain for that to this day. He was like, seriously, dude? Like, I wanted to draw cowboys. I wanted to draw tax. And then you stuff our first book with tons of kids. And I just think that's funny. So that's one. Then the second one is, for one, I love kids. I connect with them and I relate to them in a way that sometimes I don't do with grown-ups, with adults. And I don't know, maybe I'm just a kid at heart. I never grew up. I'm still a kid, and like I don't have kids of my own, but most of my friends, they have kids, and like whenever I arrive at their houses or at parties where there's tons of kids, there's this inexplicable reason where kids are drawn to me and I can relate with them at their level. We can talk at their level. Like there's this kid which my mom, she's very fond of. She sort of adopted her as a grandchild. And we were playing one day, and then the girl turns to my mom and she's like, I'm confused. Is Felipe a grown up or a kid? so, and and I love that because it allows me to write kids as kids. They're not like dumber adults, if you will, dumber grown-ups. Like I think because I can relate to kids so well, I love writing them, and it just brings me back these very fond childhood memories. And that's where Hidden Away comes from. I want people to read this and maybe go back to their childhood and see if they can relate in some way or form or shape. And as far as the theme about belonging, I think I once heard something that I take it to heart, which is the most personal themes are also the most universal ones. So for me, the sense of belonging, it's something that I always felt from very early on. And I wanted
a human characteristic. We all want to feel belong, right?
exactly.
We don't want to be alone.
Yeah.
Humans, we can tell, don't do very well alone.
Mm-hmm.
Even when they are alone, they think they're doing all that well.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it doesn't really seem like that. But that's the world that they can live in, and they're okay with that. But we just look at them that it is kind of weird. But yeah, psychologically, we don't really do that well.
Yeah.
And as a youngster, yeah, we always want to fit in. We want to be part of the big group,
Yeah.
if we can,
And that's what I wanted to bring to the book. And I can say that I see a lot of young writers out there, and I was one myself. I understand where they're coming from because I was in their shoes once, which is you're so excited about plot, you're so excited about the story itself that you forget that the rich details of your story are characters, and putting them first is always a good idea. Like I learned that in film school, and I remember when I learned that, I was like, why am I writing these long essays about each character when not even 10% is going to show up on screen or on the page? Mm-hmm. And it's just going to help you write your plot better because your character is going to take over and they're going to make your story a lot more interesting. And so I always do these long essays about the characters. Most stuff that I come up with, they don't show, but it's there for me to know. And whenever you have conflict arise between characters, you want to immediately and sort of by instinct know what their stance would be on that conflict. You don't want to overthink it, Right. So character essays, very, very important. I always do them. It takes me forever. You need to have the discipline to do them because I understand it's fun to write plot. You want to get to your story. You want to start creating these set pieces that are so original and great, but without interesting characters, you're just gonna, fall flat on your ass.
Right. You're, and that's a very good point because you've pretty much hit it on the nail, I think, as to why many of the campaigns and stories that are being told now, we don't feel that attachment to the character. It's not there, right? It's not quite the hero's journey. What the hero's journey is about isn't that he becomes a hero. It's all the trials and tribulations that he goes to that humanizes him to become that hero. Mm-hmm. And people forget those steps. They're just saying they're going from A to B, and yeah, he's overpowered this, he's killed that, he's gone through that. And those are great that he's winning those conflicts, but there's also the personal conflicts that he's got with the other characters to develop his own character. But a lot of people miss that, or they don't develop it enough. Mm-hmm. and that goes with the television and the movies as well. They started with like a very good premise, good character setup and stuff, but they just go through it too fast.
Look, I get it. Here's the thing: coming up with those character essays, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of time invested, and it's not gonna show. Like if you do your job right, it's not supposed to show. You're supposed to have that in your back pocket to use it when the character feels needs to be used. So it's not exciting. You're writing something for yourself. Yeah. But at the same time, something that I like to think of, and that I saw, I think it was Quentin Tarantino that said it, I always write for myself first, and then I just invite people to come along for the journey. So that's also something like, and the Redhead comes directly from that. So Fabiano asked me to do, hey, I want to do a Western. And I was like, hey, let's do a Western, but I want to do a Western that I'm attracted to, that I want to watch, that I want to read. And then hopefully people would connect to that. I would find other people that had similar taste or interest and what have you. And so 2 big tips: always write for yourself first. It might sound selfish, but it's true. Again, the more personal you get, the more universal it's going to be. We're all humans. Doesn't matter where we live or our background, we're still humans with emotions and fears, and you tap into that and it's universal. Your story is going to connect to audiences all over the world. And then the second tip is putting the work. As boring as it is, you might find it boring because it's not something that's going to show eventually, but it's going to help you write a better story. I know it's our instinct to go for the plot, just get it out there and write your story, but invest the time to work on your characters first, and then let them roam free in the little world you're creating.
Great tips. Stevie B writes, now I feel like I led a sheltered childhood, just pulling flounder out of the Long Island Sound. Hey, Stevie, at least you figured that out. Now you can stop floundering around.
And by the way, not a lot of people pull fish out of the water. Like none of my friends, or maybe one friend I know, just goes out on fishing trips and into the woods. We all grew up in São Paulo, but at least you're pulling flounder out of the Long Island Sound.
Yeah. Those are good eating fish, by the way. I do like eating flounder.
It's good.
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad that you are using you like using children as your main character, because to be honest with you, whenever I see a kid in a TV series or a movie, I can't wait for them to die because they don't do a good job. It's really irritating, and it's very rare like to see like a good story where the kid can become use that as a role model almost. Because if you think about it, like the Goonies, right? That was a really good kid movie.
I love the Goonies.
Oh yeah.
It's like something that when we were a kid, we kind of aspired. We wanted to be like that. And even and Stephen King, he's kind of like you, where he loves using children as a main character, and he does such a good job that you don't feel irritated or you just wish them to die. You end up really just with anxiety, you're rooting for them because you're like, oh my god, is this guy gonna survive? So as a kid, when you read these things or you watch these things, you want to it's a good role model, and then you kind of give a moral kind of theme and how to work out in social dynamic. It's really great. Those stories are great, but nowadays I don't see that at all. They either make it two things. They dumb them down. They dumb them so much, it's ridiculous, or they make it inappropriately so intelligent that they make the surrounding adults all dumb just to support the kid character. It's not realistic at all. It's not even what a child would even aspire to. So
I really hope you don't root for my kids to die, Mog. Please don't. I really hope you don't.
The thing with Mog is this, right? When she's around kids, she's really good with them, and then they love her. They want to be around her all the time. So it's kind of weird to be hearing that from Mog, right? Chuck Raw Reviews writes, Is that what sold you on Game of Thrones, Mog? All that kid killing?
Oh my god.
That was cruel. That's a low.
No, okay. Like, if you had really read the book, those kids' age start from like 6 to maybe 12. They're really, that's a good story, because now you're really rooting for them. I mean, that the writer did a good job in investing on the main characters and their children. Nobody seemed to realize that. I mean, of course, for TV purposes and appropriateness, they age them a bit. But if you really read the books, they're really young. So yeah.
So we're gonna go to a commercial break here, but let's take a quick look around of what we got so far on the board. Starting with Mr. Ruben Rosas, who's got that bright yellow there. Whoa!
Ooh. Working away.
Damn, Ruben, that looks fantastic.
Oh.
Thank you.
Oh, you're oh my God! You brought your guns today. You got Catwoman in there, the Joker, and the Batman.
Yeah,
I like that.
I do feel the Jim Lee feel in there too. Right. Yeah. So, and what was the opening bid you're looking for?
60.
Oh, 60. Okay, there you go, 60. Guys. He is looking for an opening bid of $60. That's like way too cheap. Put that in the comments if you want to bid on that. And we are taking bids of in increments of $5 if anybody wants to go on that. All right, let's take a look at Mr. John Stinsman.
So far.
All right.
All
right.
He's already in the coloring, guys. We are at the
John, you're a master.
In the episode, and he's coming in with the color.
I am not, but
okay.
I appreciate you thinking that, and we're going to keep it that way. We're going
to make sure. And there is a bid on the on Ruben's piece for 60 from Mr. Stevie B. So thank you very much for that, Stevie. You are a great supporter. And here's Mog's Armored Red Sonja that's coming up.
Oh,
kind of penciling it.
Yeah,
that's looking nice too.
I love how delicate her features are, Mog.
Yeah,
on her face.
Yeah, I like the pose. It's supposed to be. Women are.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
I agree.
Okay.
I like it.
So don't go away. We have Felipe Cagno, and we've been talking the few and the curse, and we'll get to more than that. And don't forget to put in #EXP Big Red to win one of 3 giveaways, including a full set of books from Mr. Cagno himself. We'll be right back after this commercial.
Comic Collectibles is a pretty straightforward show. You got Rex here, he sells the comics, and you got Rockin' Robbie, he knows about the comics. And finally, John, well, no one really knows what John does. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a great guy, but he just keeps showing up. Come to think of it, I don't even really know how he gets in here. Anyway, awesome comics, rare books, rarer signatures, slabbed books, and amazing cover sketches by Ken Hazer and others. Simple formula, you want the comics, you buy the comics. To sum up, Rex sells the comics, Robbie knows the comics, and John, who might possibly be a ghost. I mean, seriously, has anyone ever seen him show up or leave? Comic Collectibles with Rex and John, Mondays from 6 to 8 Eastern on The Experience. Comic Culture and Sales.
My name is Mark Weiss, and I am the founder and president of an organization called Comic Books for Kids. 6 years ago this month, we embarked on a journey of passion and heart. Our goal was to make a difference for children in hospitals and cancer centers. We want to thank our friends for allowing us their support and for providing us with the means to make so many happy with their gracious give to us.
Do you remember what it was like when you were a little kid and you got a letter in the mail? Now imagine that letter was filled with information about your favorite shows, pop culture questions, links to things you're going to want to see later, and even sneak peeks at upcoming programming here on The Experience. That's what the EXP mailing list is. Every week, we send you sneak peeks, information, and all of the relevant links for all of the shows you want to see. Sign up now on our website or scan the QR code that's on your screen right now.
Welcome back, everyone. Hit that follow button. If you've been watching, you know we've hit 2,500 already, and we're ready to celebrate. So stay tuned, hit that button, and grab all your friends to come on over as well. All right, so we've got a bid on the. Was it for John? That was. I got kind of lost there. Just taking a quick look. Oh yeah, okay. We do have a bid of $60 on Ruben's piece, correct? Or was that for John?
Correct. It was for Ruben's piece.
Okay, it was for Ruben.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, so we are looking for the next bid of 65 on that. Now we never said what the starting bid for Mog was going to be. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and set that at 50. Okay, just because I'm in the state of Hawaii, the 50th state. So we'll get that out there and lowball everybody else, get some action going out there. Right? So if you want to bid on Mog's piece, $50. Okay. If you want to bid on Ruben's piece, $60. All right. So then get that out there. Okay. All right. Oh, there's John is back.
I am back. I have audio issues every time we go to commercial. I don't know why. I either lose your audio or I can't be heard.
That just happened to me, and then it kind of corrected itself. I don't know. I don't think I did.
All right. So, Felipe, you've had several issues and graphic novels out on the series. What issue? How far have you gone with all this so far for the Few and the Cursed?
Oh, I'm just beginning. I'm just at the start.
Okay. Well, how many graphic novels are we looking at and floppy issues?
Well, let's put it this way. The first 6 issues plus Chronicles and Shadow Nation and Heart-Shaped Ambition. That was my first season. Okay? That was my first season. We just started second season, so Hidden Away is part of that. Issues 7 through 12 is part of that. And I believe I have stuff sort of brewing or in the back burner for under 4 or 5 seasons. So that's a lot of stuff.
that is a lot of stuff, right? So
is a lot of stuff.
You guys need to jump on this. Head over to his website, grab the books, read the stories.
I have a quick question for Felipe.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
How do you use Kickstarter? Do you use it to fund that book, or do you already have the book completed and then you launch the campaign?
I actually use it to fund that book.
Okay.
So
there's
usually
a waiting period, obviously.
There's definitely a waiting period. Like I said, Fabiano likes to put in the time, and I allow him to, or he allows me to allow him, whatever you want to call it. But we decided together that we're not going to do a monthly book. So we do 1 or 2 Thinkers issues per year.
Okay.
And I think that helps with the quality. I'm sure it does.
I get curious about this because I know at this point dozens of people who do Kickstarters or do Indiegogo or whatever platform they're going to use, and they use it in 2 different ways. One is very adamant that you should have the book completed and ready to go, and your audience should not wait, a minute to get their books. And the other part is like you should have enough to show, but basically a crowdfunding platform is exactly that. It's meant to give you the money to live off of and do and to create something, as opposed to like this is just another way for me to buy off the internet. So very different camps, and they're very opposed. and I'm just trying to figure out where I should go with my campaign once I launch it. You know what I mean? Because I don't think it's financially doable, honestly, for me to just take all that time off of work and write and draw and potentially color a full comic book, you know, every quarter. I want to put it out once a quarter if I can. So I don't know. I'm just trying to gauge people's feelings and their audience's reaction to potentially having to use the platform as it was intended. You know what I mean?
In my experience, John, I think it's two, like you said, it's two different approaches to crowdfunding, whatever platform.
Sure.
And there's no right or wrong; they both work. And then I think it's you gotta decide which one suits you best. As a rule of thumb, I think that the people that have the books all done and they don't want to keep their backers waiting and they are sort of doing one after the other, I think those are usually companies, if you will. Like Brian Pulido is not Brian Pulido, it's his company. He's got a lot of people around him, and he's the one who uses Kickstarter as a way of like, hey, the book's done, we're going to fulfill this 2-3 months after the Kickstarter is done. Somewhere else is Magnetic Press. They Mike is bringing in books from Europe, so they're all done. But I think when you're dealing with people like you and me that were taking time off to work on something, I don't think that approach works. And I've tried. It's not something. It doesn't, for me. It doesn't work. So I use Kickstarter to fund the book. So I have just enough to entice people to back. So I have a few pages done, like 4 or 5 pages done. I have the covers done, and then I raise the funds to then start paying everyone that gets involved in the book. You know.
I'm lucky enough to be able to do most of the work on my own, but I still need to make some kind of living.
Absolutely.
I don't. No one these days, especially these days, more than ever, has just multiple thousands of dollars sitting around in their accounts. You know, it's like rainy day fund. You know, I mean, people are like, I need my monthly check. So
absolutely.
And you've not encountered an audience anywhere that is disgruntled with this form of.
I did, but there is. I think the track record speaks volume to that. People know that regardless of all the problems that might arise, all the delays, and believe me, there are always delays.
Sure.
At multiple levels. Like I have the craziest story where a literal shipment of my books ended up in Texas, I think, when it was supposed to come to Florida. I kid you not, the truck made a wrong turn. That happened. I've had printing companies go under. I've had fulfillment companies go under while fulfilling my stuff. So problems will always happen. I think I'm pretty good at communicating with backers, of staying on top of all the comments and DMs people send over. But even then, like I always get this ground. And they are in their right. Like if I tell them they're gonna get their books by February and July comes along and I haven't sent them shit.
Absolutely.
They are in absolutely their right to be disgruntled, and I try not to take it personally. I've heard the feedback that like, hey Felipe, you're great at storytelling, you suck at logistics, and you need to better your operations. It's like there are no operations. It's me. I'm operations. You're looking at it.
Exactly. That's the thing.
And I've been trying to get all my ducks in order and to grow the operation to allow the audience to grow as well. I think that's important, but everything is a learning experience, and that's what I try to tell people. But so you just got to find what's best for you, and you need to be clear. Like people need to know that there's going to be a waiting period,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I've become more and more generous with my initial delivery dates, if you will. Like whenever I launch a Kickstarter, I always say, hey, I'm going to deliver this a year from now. And if I get to send their stuff before then, great. Like I beat their expectations. And if not, I covered, my bases, if you will.
And all of your campaigns thus far have been on Kickstarter?
Yes. I did try Indiegogo for a post Kickstarter campaign because they were doing that at the time, like where you ran the Kickstarter and then you would do late pledges on Indiegogo.
Sure.
Didn't really like that. It didn't. Maybe I had high expectations, but it didn't work for me. And I was tired because it meant I was like almost 60 days straight campaigning. I was just tired. Yeah. So, and I still use the local Brazilian crowdfunding platform as well to publish the books in Brazil. There's some following there as well.
That's smart. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think the key goal is just to make sure that your audience is well informed throughout the process.
Exactly.
And they'll be pretty patient with you as long as they feel like you haven't abandoned them and run off with the money.
Like everyone knows that they can send a comment or the message or an email and I will get back to them. I think that's where I see a lot of creators failing to do so. Yeah. They say, oh, I don't have time for this. But on the opposite, I think that's what you need to have time for. People will be very understanding with your delays if they feel you're there with them, if they feel heard, if they feel they have a voice. Mm-hmm. And I again, like when I launch a Kickstarter, I do make a point of saying, hey, listen, this is a community effort. We are banding together to make this project work. And I think that's key. I'm not just some guy behind a screen asking for their money and then I'll send them a book in the mail and we'll never connect, we'll never communicate with one another. And like every single time that I had to write, and I hate writing these updates, but you have to, like, hey, I'm late, this is going to be 2 months late, this happened, that happened, whatever it is. 90% of people just send supportive messages. They're like, hey, Felipe, we know you. Take as much time as you need to deliver something of quality. We're expecting quality over quantity or over time. Yeah. And then
I like what you said, because what you're doing is you're saying to the audience, this is our project.
It is.
You are integral. You're not just buying a comic book that I drawn or wrote or both, perhaps. You're now an integral part of making this creation come to life, and without you we couldn't do it. And people like that. They like to be a part of something, right? They like to that communal sort of thing that human beings are all about, that Mel was kind of talking about earlier in the show. That seems to work. Okay, well, that's interesting. That's good information.
Yeah, and look, if you nurture your audience, they'll keep coming back. And nurture, I mean, not just putting in the time to deliver the best work possible, but also, hey, we're here for you. I listen. Like
that's all. There are respected.
Yeah. Look, there are quite a few backers that I know by name. I mean, and there is this one backer, Freddie. He's in the Netherlands. He's in Holland, and I remember like he came on from the board game Kickstarter. Okay. And he's a straight shooter. If he sees something that it's not okay, he'll call you on it, and he'll leave a message, he'll leave a comment, whatever that is. And I don't remember the specifics, but I remember he left a comment on one of my Kickstarters that was running side by side with the board game, and he confronted me on something, and I'm not one to back down or stay quiet, so I talked back. And there's a very healthy exchange of comments. Sure. And the guy became one of my biggest champions. Like whenever there's something going on, he was like, hey, every single time I told Felipe something that needed to get better, that needed to be improved, whatever that is, he listened. Sometimes he couldn't do anything about it, but he respected the fact that I heard him and tried to do something about it, even though I couldn't for whatever issue we were dealing with. And now I have someone on my corner. Like sometimes he even responds people before I can. Like I kid you not. Sometimes people leave a comment and then Freddie goes up to bat. He's like, "Hey, I know Felipe, blah blah blah," and then he answers for me. And it's just the best feeling in the world to know that you're not alone and that you've truly built a community of people that, hey, we believe in the thinkers. We're gonna make this happen. We're not gonna, let Felipe fending for himself, if you will.
Yeah,
that's a testament to good customer service, which a lot of people need to work on, right? Because we see that happening now with some of the campaigns. The customer service just isn't present, and they've lost people, or people have fallen off. And you're right to make that point, Felipe, is that you've got to handle the whatever comment is coming in, argument, you've got to respond as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
It's just like dealing with the publishers as well, right? If they're asking you a question, or whether it's a publisher, an artist, or whoever, you need to respond, right? And you need to respond in a very timely manner, right? Because you're also working as a team.
Yeah.
On this end, you're dealing with the end customer, the guy that's actually forking out the money, that's supporting the industry and yourself. If you can't satisfy them, you're gonna lose your customer base. You're not gonna nurture it. It's not gonna grow. People will not be as lenient as they can be, because once you lose that trust and that faith, it is hard to get it back. Right. It will take a while before you're going to be able to get back on that horse and feel good about it, because those guys will keep dragging you down. And situations that has happened in the industry.
And look, it's all a learning experience. Like I had to learn how to do literally everything myself before handing it over to companies specialize in that. So for instance, all the packages, I did all the packaging and packing and the shipping myself. Like I know for a fact I've shipped thousands of packages, and it was a learning curve. Like the very first 2 Kickstarters that I did, people were complaining a lot about books getting damaged in transit, whatever, and I thought I was doing what was best. I tried and didn't work, and then I started looking for other ways to safely, pack books, and it didn't serve me right to confront packers. They were paying for the book and they wanted to receive the book in mint condition.
Sure.
If I just confronted them and took a stance, but I also was like, listen, I'm doing everything by myself. I'm learning. Please be patient with me. Of course, you have always, the very rare exceptions. There are those out there that they don't want to hear. They just want to be dicks about it and then yell at you and curse at you. But most people are very understanding if you establish a dialogue with them and be like, hey, I'm doing by myself. I'm learning. I'm open to your criticism, feedback. Just be respectful about it. Let's keep the decorum, if you will. And I think I finally got to a place where these complaints are being kept to a minimum. And I also learned the hard way that sometimes it is just better to just send a replacement book, and you should factor that into your accounting, if you will, just send a replacement book. It's not look, you're gonna excel at customer service and you're gonna make a fan for life. Like, oh, I hear you. If you think you need a replacement for whatever reason, I'll send you one. It's a lot better in the long run than to be like, oh, but I packed the book. Oh, that damage is not damage enough to justify sending another book, but it's not worth it. But I had to go through the process as well. I had to learn that, it was a process.
Because you're also going to learn how to pack better. And you're also going to know that okay, anytime that I'm going to send something over here, I know how this stuff gets treated. So now I know that, anyway, this is what I do. I'm going to go ahead and pack that up maybe a little bit differently. Maybe I'm going to put a little more support in there so that way it doesn't get damaged, because I know over there it gets tossed around. Okay. So you put in a little bit more love into that. And so that way the customer doesn't keep calling and saying, hey, my book is damaged again, you know, because I've had that happen a couple of times, and that tells me, okay, that whoever's delivering the book isn't doing the kind of job that we expect them to do. So I've got to put in extra stuff in there just to make sure that it does get there safely.
But okay, Mel, so here's something that hopefully is going to make you all feel better. Okay. So in Brazil, about, and I kid you not, this is cold, hard statistics. In Brazil, about 5% of everything I ship gets lost in transit. 5%. That's a lot. That's a lot. That is high. And I thought that was like I thought it was an exception or it happened, but no, like consistently, every single fulfillment I do in Brazil, about 5% of packages get lost in transit, and I need to do replacements for those. 5%. So I know for a fact that I have a lot of fans in Brazilian post office. I'm sure. They're just like, oh, there's another package from Felipe. You know, like, oh.
All right, I got the solution for that, Felipe. Okay. The return address, don't put your name.
Right. That's I never thought of that.
There you go.
I don't know.
You don't know her yet.
Yeah, I'm just gonna put like an anthrax sign or something, like anthrax, a complex system or something. Laboratory, anthrax laboratory.
Recently, like me and Mel, we watched the transportation from South America to North America, and it was specifically using the Panama Canal. And the documentary is called like Nerve System, and is it Nerve System or Nerve Central? Sorry, Nerve Central. And the shit that goes through just for the transportation, the companies and what we saw. Yeah. And after I hear what you said, it doesn't surprise me that you lose 5% because there's so much stuff they have to go through just to get packages delivered like up to north. It's insane. Like, wow. Yeah.
Well, look,
it would never get delivered.
Look, I always tell you know, Brazilian fans, do not back the Kickstarter. Wait for the local crowdfunding, because like every time I ship something from the US to Brazil, it gets lost, or it just happens, you know. It just it's anyway. I love my country. I love spending time there. The food's just absolutely amazing. It's best food in the world. You know, the people are great, but the post office just drives me nuts. And whenever I see people complaining about USPS, I was like, you know nothing. You are Jones. No, you know nothing.
I will agree with you on that. All right, because as a retailer in the 90s, when eBay like took off and we were just like selling things everywhere, I was shipping to around the world, right? And so I've learned like what countries are hard to ship to and how much they cost and the kind of things that get screwed up, right? You know, and I took a lot of losses that way, but US is definitely better.
Look, it astounds me that whenever I see like fulfillment companies like, hey, we do not ship to the following countries, and then the following countries are Syria, Russia, Brazil. It's like, why are we in the company of Russia in Brazil, like and Syria? Like, I understand what's going on in those countries. They are at war constantly. we're not like a belligerent country. We don't get into war with anybody. So why are we in this list? But we are. It's just reality.
I have a special place for Russia because I did a big shipment to them, a really, really big shipment to them back in the 90s, right? And it was paid for, okay? And I went ahead and I shipped it out. And it was like it was $9,000 worth of inventory. And 2 weeks later, I get a notice. I see a notice on my credit card account that they've taken $9,000 back, and I'm going, why? They're saying that the customer didn't get it, right? And I'm trying to contact the customer, and they're not responding at all. And I'm going, what the heck is going on here? And there was no way that I could resolve that. There was nowhere I could go to get help. There was nowhere. There was nothing. I was just out the $9,000.
Jeez.
So I don't ship to Russia.
Yeah.
I learned it the hard way.
Yeah.
But yeah, but that's interesting. 5%. Wow. So it's like automatic. Okay, I've got 100 books going to Brazil. I've got to add 5% more to that. Just
absolutely. That's cold hard statistics.
And that is one mistake too that a lot of people that are starting to use these crowdfunding is that they don't factor in the shipping, like what it's going to cost them. I remember hearing in the early days, I go, I went ahead and I did the Kickstarter thing, but I forgot about shipping. And the money that I thought I was making, I ended up taking a loss because I'm shipping to Canada, and Canada is not cheap, right? Even though they're just across the border from us. It is. It is. It's almost like highway robbery to me when I have to ship something there. Just like a simple poster, and it's $50. The poster was $5. I go, this guy still wants it, but man, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Well, I finally found a partner at least in Europe. That's a European hub. So, because shipping anything from the US to Europe is ridiculously expensive as well. Like anything outside the US is always expensive. So this current Kickstarter is the first one that I'm offering like low friendly shipping rates, and I try to make a big deal out of it. Make sure people know that if they are in Europe, they can pledge with confidence that they're gonna get their books with that. Because in the past, I had people wanting to buy the Thinkers comics, and they were like in London or the UK or Italy or Germany, whatever it is, and they were like paying $15 for the book, and then $40 for shipping, and that scared a lot of people away, or they would just go for the digital copy. So those are the things you kind of pick up on from campaign to campaign. Like one of the things I like to tell people about Kickstarter is consistency is more important than anything when you're trying to build an audience. If you do a Kickstarter and then your second one's going to be 4 or 5 years later, that's not consistent. You should try to plan 2-3 Kickstarters every single year. Make sure you deliver them and make sure you stay on top of them as far as communicating with backers,
Which is funny because that's the same lesson that was being that made it through the 90s, right? With the whole image thing, is that to get your books out on time. Okay, they were monthly, and as a retailer back then, that was like one of the biggest things that hurt us as a retailer, because we built up an audience to buy, whatever book it is, it's coming out as a number one. And then we have to order number two. Okay. And based on the numbers that we got for number one, maybe it was like 300. And so we go, okay, now, well, I know there's usually a drop on issue number two. So I'm going to order, maybe 200 or 175. Okay. But issue 2 doesn't come out until 6-7 months after it's supposed to. Right. And by then people have lost interest. So now instead of getting even like a 60-70% sell-through rate, we've dropped down to like a 30-40% sell-through rate, and we've lost money, right?
Yeah.
So it is important then and even now, and I tell that to everyone. If you're going to do it, you do need to be consistent, and you need to follow through on it, right? If you are building an audience, right, because you want to keep that customer base, that's what's going to keep you going. And that's one thing that I talk to Mog all the time. Like, we are going to build this business with her and I, right? And we're going to build it gradually. And there's a reason for that. And somebody was asking about that too, is that you don't want to build it up too big, make a big jump. Okay. And the reason for that is you don't know what kind of issues or problems that you're going to have to deal with. Right? So dealing with it at a higher level that you're not used to, you're going to take some big losses, right? So you want these gradual growth rates so that way you can handle those and bear those losses if they come in there.
I have a. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Finish yours.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I just have this kind of crazy idea for shipping. So, like, what if you put in a backer, right? And you call it like European shipping or something. I don't know, whatever title you put it. And the more money people put in that, just for that alone, the cost for the Europeans kind of like shipments go down. And what you do is either you get any of your family member or yourself, and they physically, it's like, oh, this is just the price for the Australia. We got you. Australian ticket.
Okay.
$100, okay? Pay for this guy, okay? And then he just goes in and out.
So
German.
I have a good story about that.
What?
I have a fan or a reader or I have someone that buys my comics or pretty consistently, and he lives in New Caledonia.
Wow.
I never heard of it until that person, started buying my comics, and I did all the labeling and the shipping and the packing myself. So I was like, where is New Caledonia? What is this place? And then I Googled it up, and it's this, heaven on earth, this paradise island in the middle of the Pacific. It's next to Fiji or what have you. And I thought to myself, why is this guy buying my comics when he can just go to one of the most beautiful beaches in the world? And then, well, maybe he's reading my comics at the beach. And I always had the craziest idea of hand delivering my package.
Like, pay me. I will hand deliver.
Right?
Like air ticket funding. It's like, pay me. I'll hand deliver to you.
Yes, I'll go to New Caledonia anytime to hand deliver. If the guy invites me, I'll even sleep on his couch. I don't care.
And they don't pay for this one. Don't pay for the book. I'll give it hand delivered to you for free.
Yep, absolutely.
But here's my funding for the ticket, so I can hand deliver it.
I like that.
You get a following, and it becomes like one in Germany, one in France.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, and then you start having all your family members like scattering like rats and come back. And like, it's like, hey, vacation guys, go, and then come back.
Vacation guys.
Yeah.
I'll volunteer.
I'll volunteer too.
Like all your artist friends, like maybe your artist guy, what's his name? Fabiano. Fabiano. It's like, hey Fabiano, where you want to go? There's you got 10 deliveries in Germany, 20 deliveries in France, 15 in UK. Which one do you want to go?
I want to go to France and bring back some wine.
Yeah,
there you go.
And then as he's doing it, because he's actually technically working, and you say, "You're welcome. You're welcome."
You're welcome.
You're gonna thank me.
What can I say? But then you're welcome.
All right, let's take a quick look at what these guys have on the board. Mog, let's take a look at yours first. Still looking for a bit of,
I gotta do the camera changing. Can somebody else go first?
All right. Well, okay. We got Ruben there.
Oh,
dang, that is sweet.
Hey, that's moody.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Okay.
I like that.
Okay. And we are still looking for a bid on that, I believe. for $60. So if you want to take a bid on,
Wow,
we
Ruben,
got a
that's
bid on
cool.
CVB on that. Okay, so if you want to place a bid on that, we are looking for the next one of 65. And all right, let's take a look at Mr. John Stinsman here.
Oh, John stepped away for a sec.
Okay, all right, and okay, so now that leads us to you, Mog. And by the way, John does have a bid of 65 on his, so we're looking for 70 on his. And there's Mog's red Sonia.
Nice.
And we are looking for a bid on that for 50, I believe, still.
Beautiful.
There we go. Yeah, Mog
Thank
does not
you,
have a
thank
bid on there. Okay, here's John.
Oh, I like that, John.
Thank you.
Nice.
Yes.
Getting somewhere. Slowly but surely.
We are looking for a bid of that on for 65. And once again, Ruben does have a bid on his for 65. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure either, JD, so I didn't see it. So right now we just have a bid on Ruben's at 65. Okay, from Stevie B, I believe.
But think about this. Felipe, think about this, right? If you have it like a slot, and then France, German, and say Italy, right? You can even have a running bid, and you just say, "I'm sorry, only the one country that gets the biggest amount is going to win, and only those guys are going to get a massive book discount." Right? You put that ticket price, and then they're going to do a bid war. It's like, no, France is going to win. No, you fucker. I'm sorry, Germany is going to win, and then whoever wins, the highest guys, like, you're going to be honorable. You're going to say, for this one, it's a special thing, and whoever loses, those two countries loses, they get their money back, because we're not going to use it, because they don't get the discount, whatever. Or I don't know, whatever, you can think about it. And then the German guys, like, yes, you guys get like 50% off, woohoo! And I'll meet you there. Like,
right. So, and Stevie B writes, nobody watches Law and Order. Mail fraud is a felony.
Really? What do you mean?
Yeah, it's a felony.
Really?
Okay.
But you're carrying books.
It is. It's been a felony for a long time.
Why is that a felony? You're carrying books.
Because you're actually ripping people off with their money. They're not getting the
no,
back,
but you're delivering it.
But they are delivering the book.
Yeah,
they're still getting the book.
Okay, well, all right. Let's get to. We got to spin the wheel. I want to make sure that we don't forget that. Okay. And first up, we're actually doing a couple special pieces here. The first one that we're going to roll the wheel for is a War Angels trade paperback pencil copy of a print that Mog did. No, that's not the right one, JD. There you go. Okay. That was the cover for the trade that she did. And so we're going to go ahead and roll for that. Drum roll, please. Let's see who our lucky winner is for tonight on that piece. Steve Vendetta wins that. Very good. Just write that down. Nice. And the next piece that we are going to give away is the first piece that was brought up in Underland. That was actually used for the Underland cover with. Wow. There we go. Okay, that's the right one. So we'll go ahead and roll for that. Kenneth Bird gets that.
You win.
And now for the grand prize drawing. A full set of Felipe's books.
Oh my gosh. Will I win?
Oh, wow.
Felipe is going to charge you a ticket price.
Oh, Chuck Raw Reviews gets that. You lucky guy. You.
Oh, I'm scared if he's gonna do a raw review on my book.
All right, and don't forget to fill out that form in the comics so that we know exactly where to send these to. I want to thank you, all you guys, for coming here tonight and supporting the show and watching us. It was a very, very interesting show. I freaking really loved talking to Felipe here. Let's take another look of what we have on the board with the artists. Let's start with John. Since you were waiting, there's that color coming in.
Getting there.
Ooh, Wonder Woman. We are looking for a bid on that for 60. Okay. And here's Mog's piece. And
actually, Don, I kind of want to see you do what's that guy? What's the Fantastic Four villain? Gosh, I forget. Dr. Doom.
Dr. Doom, yeah.
I think you're gonna do a really good Dr. Doom. I don't know why.
Okay, there you go. And we are still looking for a bid on Mog's piece for 50. And there's Ruben. We do have a bid on that for 65. So we are looking for a next bid of 70 on that.
I really like that yellow.
Ruben.
Yeah,
that
cool.
yellow's popping it too.
That's really badass.
Boom, killing it. Bid on that, guys. It's low. In fact, everybody says starting low tonight. Right. And Mog, you didn't. I don't think you heard this in the beginning.
Oh yeah, I know what you're going to say.
Felipe is going to be at Emerald City next week.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So we get to see him in person. Yeah.
And I checked my table. I'm going to be a C16. C16.
C16. Right.
Yeah. C for Camila.
There you go. And I've already told everybody that you're at M09, which spells Mog.
It looks like Mog.
M09.
Like what?
I'm pretty sure they thought about it when they assigned your table. I'm pretty sure.
You know what? As long as we've been doing shows, I've never noticed that it spells that, coming out like that. So that was kind of cool when I saw that. At first, I thought, man, this must be a joke or something. But nope, it's real.
Hey, Felipe, is for you is the truth important to you?
The truth?
Yeah, truth. Just truth. Is it important to you?
Yes, it's very important. I make a point of never lying to the point where sometimes I get in trouble. When I should lie, and I didn't.
Okay, good.
That's because you're being responsible, and you know what? You just gotta eat it.
I know.
Okay, because I'm the same, and I'm wondering if that's the reason why we can get along with kids more than adults. Because, you and I mean, I don't know about. I'm only listen to you for about a couple hours, but if truth is important to you, when you have a conversation, you don't want any pretense. You don't want pretension, because it's kind of corrupts the data that you're collecting, or whatever. It's not a good thing for if truth is really important to you. So maybe I'm wondering that's why you get along with children, and it's easier because they don't really do that pretense thing. There's no pretension.
I like that. That may be it. I love how kids are just completely raw and honest and
Where with
I just had this happen to me. I was with my nieces, and there's 4 girls aged 2 and 4, between 2 and 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And we were about to start Moana, so I had them all sit, on the couch. I was sitting with them. And then my goddaughter, she's 2.5. She's 2.5 years old. She comes along. She's like, hey, you want to join us for Moana? She's like, yeah. And then she pushes one of the girls. She's like, I sit next to him. And then I was like, hey, but I'm a little sleepy. She's like, you can't sleep, but you should stay quiet for the movie. She's 2.5. It's like, no sleeping, but stay quiet for the movie. I was like, that's fair enough. That's a good point. It's just unfiltered. I love that kids are unfiltered. Yeah. Whatever comes through their minds, they just splurt it out.
Yeah, because for me, I growing up, truth was always important. I mean, it still is. It's the most important thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
So as I grow up, I had to learn to filter and not say a lot of things, right? When you're a kid, you don't know any better, so you just say everything.
Right.
What you it's everything is like just raw, like you said.
Mhm.
So like that's why I think more and more whenever I meet adults, mature guys or women, and I can have a decent conversation with them, I really appreciate it. It's very rare. It's very rare, but yeah.
Mhm.
And look, maybe I never thought about this, Mog. You just made me think about this. Maybe that's why it's easier to write kids, because you don't need to have all that subtext behind their lines.
Oh, that's very interesting.
So they're just true. You know, whatever they say, what they mean, and they mean what they say.
Yeah.
You know?
Wow, that is a very
I know.
Yeah, because when you
observation there.
because I was thinking about it the whole time when you said that you like writing about kids and all of that, right? And how you get along with kids better. And I agree, like I'm the same too. But I was wondering, why is that? Because for some people it might come off like, oh, that's weird. But I know there was a deeper meaning. There's a deeper reason why. So that's why I asked you, is truth important to you? So.
It is. It's very important to me. Yeah. It's a good question.
But the problem is you get the foot and mouth syndrome.
Oh yeah, definitely, all the time. Yeah.
I mean, for me, I don't know about you, but yeah.
No, I do all the time. I'm always saying stuff that I shouldn't have.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we've got like a few minutes left here, and I want to say that I really enjoyed tonight's episode, talking to Felipe and having John and Ruben join us as well. Definitely would love to have you back again and see where you're at and talk to you more about comics. Okay, and looking forward to seeing you next week. Be sure to join us next weekend, next Thursday. We won't be here because we'll be at Emerald City. But we've got Christy Shin taking over the show for us, and she is bringing the Asian Invasion group with her. So she will have Mr. Philip Jin, Stephen Yu, and Dave Law, who will be fortunate to be running the show for us. Right? Make sure you watch them, keep them sane, and have Christy control that demon bitch. All right, guys. Thank you very much for watching us tonight. We thank you for all your love and support, and we will see you in 2 weeks. Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it, Mog. Thank you so much, and thank you, Ruben and John, for providing the eye candy for the show, and Mog as well. Mog as well.
Oh, you mean you draw?
I'm just
mental drawings. You know, you draw things.
No. I am M09.
Right.
That's right. I am now.
And we got a final bid just for doing this. We got a final bid on the Wonder Woman on John's piece for 65.
Awesome.
So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
All
good
right.
night. See you.
Have a good night.
Bye.
See you.
Care.
Bye.
Bye.